Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Montgomery Mixed Opinions. I'm Kyle Seagraves. Today, I'm here with,
Briar Singh.
Peyton Hartman.
And Matthew Moser.
and we are on the cusp of the NFL playoffs. The NFL playoffs start this weekend on Saturday and then goes to Sunday and Monday. Action-packed weekend. There's a lot of storylines going on with this NFL playoffs, and looking at the brackets, one of the hardest in the last few years to try and predict, in my opinion. So today we're going to be going through each of us individually, choosing our playoff bracket, and eventually up to our Super Bowl winner. So I will be starting off today. So to start, the Buccaneers and Eagles. So I'm trying to keep this as unbiased as possible, obviously being an Eagles fan. And to be honest, at first I did have the Buccaneers winning this game. But
And then his bias came out.
but I went back, looking at the Buccaneers' schedule, they have not been a singular good team in their entire season. So they were in the worst division. They had pretty much 6 easy wins. The only good teams they faced, Bills, they lost. Eagles, they lost. I think Dolphins, they lost. And that was it. That was the only good teams they faced. They beat the Panthers 9-0. 9-0. The worst team in the league. They beat 9-0. So, originally, I did have the Buccaneers winning this game, but I've faith in the Eagles. Moving on to the second round, the Eagles still have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith questionable, and Jalen Hurts now hurt with a finger. Starting that Giants game was the possible worst decision they made. Just led to more injuries and more complications for trying to make a playoff run. So I do have the Eagles winning that game. Moving on, Lions at Rams. We have Matthew Stafford returning to Detroit and Jared Goff playing against his former team. The Rams are a sneaky good team. I think any of these upsets can happen. In my opinion, there's only one game that is locked that I don't think can be an upset, and that's Bills-Steelers. But I am going to take the Lions in this one. I think the Lions have had an amazing season, and they can continue that with Dan Campbell. So I'll have the Lions beating the Rams in Detroit. Moving on, Cowboys-Packers. We have the Mike McCarthy Bowl. Mike McCarthy going back against his former team in a rematch in the Did Dez Catch It playoff game from, I couldn't even tell you what year that was, a while ago. But, the Packers, again, a sneaky good team. Jordan Love has looked good, but I don't think good enough to beat a dominant Cowboys team. So I do have the Cowboys winning that game. So moving on to the AFC, Texans-Browns. This is probably the hardest game to predict, in my opinion. Texans looking really great offensively. They still don't have Tank Dell. Nico Collins went absolutely crazy last week, though. I think he had 170-something yards for a touchdown. But the Browns' defense has been probably best or second best behind the Jets all year. So, and if the Browns win, that could lead to a Joe Flacco returning to Baltimore, which would be another storyline. That's what this playoff is full of, storylines. But I am going to take the Texans, and it's just because I don't think Joe Flacco obviously has not been bad. Coming off the couch like 6 weeks ago, he's been great for filling in what he's needed to do. But I have faith in C.J. Stroud, and I love that Texans team. I think they've looked amazing. Moving on, Chiefs, Dolphins, Tyreek Hill returning to the Chiefs, and I think this is going to be the first upset. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game. Dolphins, 1-5 this season against teams with a winning record. But I think Tyreek Hill goes crazy this game. And Patrick Mahomes in that offense has just looked terrible. Travis Kelce is not the same. His receivers can't catch the ball. Nothing has gone right for them all season, and I don't think their defense can compete with the Dolphins, especially with possible Jalen Waddle coming back and Raheem Mostert possibly coming back as well. And then moving on, the last game, this is the one I said I don't really see debate. I think the Bills win this easily. Mason Rudolph has been good as his time, like as he's needed to be, but I don't think they can beat a red hot Bills team. So, moving on back to the NFC, this will mean with the Eagles moving on and then both the higher seeds winning, the Eagles will rematch the 49ers. And once again, I want to have faith in the Eagles as an Eagles fan, but I can't with the way the team has performed lately, and I think the Niners will murder them. So, so I do have the Niners winning that game. It'll be in San Francisco. The last 2 times they played were in Philly, so I don't have enough faith in the team, especially the 49ers have looked amazing lately. So I do have the 49ers winning that.
Zero faith in your team. Zero.
I have like 2 brackets in my head. I have the Eagles dream and realism.
Eagles Cinderella run.
And a realistic bracket, which is what I'm explaining now. So moving on, Lions Cowboys rematch of the failed 2-point conversion, a botched call by the refs. A lot of debate around that one. It will be in Dallas, but it was in Dallas last time, and I think the Lions pull it off this time, and get their revenge. Dan Campbell, I mean, the guts that he had to go for it 3 times, even on the 7-yard line for 2 points, was just unbelievable, and I think that they'll win it this time. So that will leave 49ers and Lions in the conference championship. Moving on, Texans versus Bills. I think the Texans are good, but I don't think they're good enough to beat the Bills in Buffalo. So I'll take the Bills in that one. And then Dolphins, Ravens, red hot Ravens team. I don't think anyone's beaten them, especially not the Dolphins, who haven't performed against above 500 teams. So Lions, 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers. And then Bills, Ravens, I'm going to take the Ravens. It's boring. Have 2 1 seeds in the Super Bowl, but I mean they're the 2 best teams in football, and they're 1 seeds for a reason. Both of them have looked dominant. And then moving on to the Super Bowl, give me the Ravens. The Ravens shut the 49ers out. I think Brock Purdy threw 4 or 5 picks.
Nope.
In the last game, and I think Lamar is going to be Super Bowl MVP. So that is my playoff bracket. We're going to be moving on to Breyer, and we're going to hear his.
Just like Kyle said, I'm going to be also going with the Philadelphia Eagles. To be honest, I really have not paid much attention to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I'm going to side with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're just a well-put team, well-rounded team until they get to hard games, and then they kind of choke under pressure, but that's kind of just how it rolls out. For Detroit and LA, I'm going with Detroit. Like Kyle said, the Rams are a sneaky team, but I think Detroit is just a better overall team, better defense, better offense. So I'm going with Detroit. Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers. I think this one's almost a lock, like Kyle said. I think the Cowboys, they're kind of a hot team, but like they have their moments, so where they could look terrible. But I will decide with the Cowboys for that. Houston and Cleveland. Unlike Kyle, I took the Cleveland Browns. I think they beat them earlier in the season.
Without C.J. Stroud.
Yeah. But I still think Cleveland's defense and hopefully Joe Flacco keeps playing like the way he's been. I think they shouldn't run away with this game, but I think it should be a close game. So I'm hoping Cleveland pulls it off because I want to see Joe Flacco go deep in the playoffs, but I don't know if that's going to work out. For Kansas City and Miami, I have Miami. I think they'll probably want it more because Tyreek Hill, like Kyle said, I think he's going to go crazy for that game. It's going back to home to Kansas City, and stakes will just be high. For Buffalo and Pittsburgh, no-brainer, Buffalo. There's really not much said to that
no
one.
chance given to the Steelers.
For Dallas and Detroit for divisional rounds, I have Dallas beating Detroit. I think there were some iffy calls last time they played, but I think Dallas is like on the verge of being that red hot team, kind of Ravens. But they have their mistakes that could really cost them. So I'm going with Dallas here. Hopefully they don't make any mistakes. Then San Francisco against Philly. I'm going San Francisco. I don't even have a little faith for the Philly. Sorry, Kyle. I think they're just too good. For Baltimore and Miami, I'm going with Baltimore. Baltimore has just been seen to shut out every single team they play. That's top contenders, people say. 49ers, Eagles, Dolphins. I just think they blow everybody out. Buffalo and Cleveland. I would love to see Cleveland win and have Joe Flacco play Baltimore, but I think Buffalo's going to beat them. I think they're just a well put together team. For the conference championships, I have San Francisco versus Dallas, and I'm going with San Francisco because I feel like every time they play Dallas, they always end up beating them. How many years in a row, Peyton? Was it 3 years?
3 years in a row in the playoffs or something.
San Francisco would just beat Dallas. Then for the AFC Championship, I got Baltimore versus Buffalo, and I really think Baltimore will just whoop up on them. I don't know, it's just something about Baltimore. They're kind of a red-hot team. Then for Super Bowl, I got San Francisco versus Baltimore. And I do think it will be a little bit different game than when they played in the beginning, because Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions.
Yes.
He threw 4 interceptions. Defense was just playing really well that game, but I think it'll be a different game, but I think it's going to be a little closer, but I still have Baltimore Ravens winning. So the Ravens are my Super Bowl champs. And now Peyton's going.
All right, here we go. We're going to start off with the AFC, and we're going to all begin, like everyone has said here, we got the Bills beating the Steelers just because the Steelers have looked like obviously a crappy team all season. I don't even know how they made the playoffs. They had God's grace of luck, I guess some people would say. So I got the Bills beating the Steelers because I'm pretty sure it's like Mike Tomlin's like 8-9 in the playoffs or something like that. He really hasn't had much playoff success, but he is a winning coach. But that really doesn't matter in the playoffs. So moving on, I have KC beating Miami. So I want to talk about this. The weather for Sunday in Kansas City is supposed to be 5 degrees. Those Miami boys won't be able to play to their capabilities in that sort of weather because in Miami it's nice. It's nice and warm, but when you go to KC and it's 5 degrees and snowing, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough for both teams, but Kansas City is going to be able to adapt better than the Miami Dolphins because they're just not used to that sort of weather. So that's definition of home field advantage, like how Green Bay has the cold weather, so does KC. So I have KC beating Miami, and I have Joe off the couch Flacco beating the Texans. I think the Browns defense is what's really going to carry them against C.J. Stroud. It's DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud's first ever playoff run. They're going to be shaky, and my prediction, both of them are going to be shaky. They're not going to have their best games. They're going to be nervous. So that's what's going to happen in that sort of way. I think the Texans are just going to be way too nervous. So I think the Browns defense and Joe Flacco are going to go in there and whoop up, or not necessarily whoop up. It's going to be a good game, but they're going to come out there with a W. And on to the NFC. I have Dallas beating Green Bay, not only because Green Bay has looked like a lackluster team, but it's because of the way Dallas has played at home, and they do play at home in this game. Dallas is like 5-1 at home, or it's not 5-1. It's some crazy stat where they like they've had some great success at home this season. They blew out the Giants. They blew out another team.
Beat the Eagles.
Beat the Eagles at home. So I think what's that?
They might still be undefeated because they beat the Lions at home.
They did. Yeah, that's true. So they probably are still undefeated at home for all I know. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to put out there. So I believe they continue that streak. Green Bay has not looked like a good team. I mean, Jordan Love, he's definitely the future of that team at QB. So if they can get some more weapons around him in the future, they'll definitely be a more contending team. And I have the Lions beating the Rams. I think the Lions have just looked like a better overall team. I mean, Rams have Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. So, I mean, that definitely throws some things in there. Aaron Donald. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be good for the Rams, I'd say. I feel like there's going to be a couple plays that they miss. It's going to come down to the wire for sure. But I definitely have Detroit coming out with the win, mostly because I'm a Niners fan, but they're definitely a team I'm rooting for in the playoffs just because of how much pain these Detroit fans have been through over the past 60 years or something, whatever it was when their last playoff win was. And my first upset I have coming up in the playoffs is the Buccaneers beating the Eagles. I think the Eagles have little to no momentum at this point. 1-5 in their last 6 games or whatever it was. I think they have lost a ton of momentum. And with their 3 star players being questionable, I think that's definitely going to raise some questions as to, like, will the Eagles make it past the wild card against the Buccaneers? And, yeah, Kyle's shaking his head at me.
First, it's impossible to comprehend. Their first team to ever start 10-1, or better, and not end with 12 wins.
And, yep, so Kyle just said it. They crapped the bed. To put it nicely. So moving on to our divisional rounds, I have Baltimore beating the Browns. The Joe Flacco storyline, it's a cool storyline, but I think the Ravens are going to go in there and take care of business. I know the Ravens have definitely had some horrible success in the playoffs the last time they've been in the playoffs. So I think this is where they redeem themselves against the Browns. That's what I'm just predicting. And for the Chiefs-Bills game, I assume the Bills are going to get the revenge against the Chiefs. It's going to be cold weather for both teams. Bills play at home in Buffalo, so I think the Bills have just looked like a better overall team. They're riding a hot streak coming into the playoffs with a 5-game win streak. Kansas City has not, as we have said before, not played to their true potential with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, and Kadarius Toney dropping every single ball that's been thrown to him known to mankind. So
unless it's from Travis Kelce.
What?
Unless it's from Travis Kelce.
Unless it's from Travis Kelce, then he decides to not drop the ball. So,
but he still lines up offsides.
Yeah, but he'll line up offsides again and cost him a game. So, to put that nicely. So, I have the Bills beating the Chiefs. And on to the NFC side, Niners versus Buccaneers. This game, no bias. This game won't be close. I think the Niners. Matt, don't look at me like that. Dude, I am just saying. The Niners have looked like the most complete team besides the Ravens this season, and I think Niners are going to go in there and handle business against the Buccaneers because Buccaneers are just not a good team. I mean, they faced the Eagles, so moving on, I have Lions at Dallas. I think it's going to be another close game, but like I said, Dallas at home is basically an unstoppable force. I know it came down to the wire last time off the botched call, so maybe the Lions win, but I really have Dallas winning once again just because of their home field advantage and how good they've been at home. And on to our conference championships, Baltimore beating Bills. Baltimore has looked like the best team in the NFL so far just because of how they've played and what I've seen from them. I know they're coming off a loss to the Steelers this past week, but, no starters played. Not a single starter played, basically. So
it's still only 17-10.
Yeah, it was still only 17-10. So I have Baltimore beating the Bills. I don't think Josh Allen could keep up with that. Both teams are looking real good so far, coming off hot streak wins. Or not the Ravens, but the Bills coming on hot streak wins. And for the NFC, I have Dallas 49ers rematch. What is it, like the second year in a row they met in the conference championship or something like that? I think at least.
No, I think they met division or the wild card last week.
They met in the wild card last year?
I think it was the divisional the year before that. It wasn't conference championship. 'cause that was the Eagles' 49ers.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyways, my facts are off. But this is like the third time in a row that they've met in the playoffs against each other and ending up in the conference championship. I'm pretty sure it was a few years ago they ended up in the conference championship against each other, right? Or am I tweaking?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't remember, but it's been a while.
I don't remember what happened because 2 years ago that was when Dak
QB snuck up the middle.
and ran out of time.
Yeah.
And then last year was Zeke at center.
Yeah, Zeke at center. I mean, that was obviously a Albert Einstein type of play, something that I would have never cooked up. Maybe Mike McCarthy was thinking of something nice. But I have the 49ers beating Dallas just because of the rich history between that rivalry, and it's at home for the 49ers, and I think 49ers look like a better team. They actually whooped up on them in the regular season. I remember it was like 40-something to 10. So, I mean, Kyle Shanahan has Mike McCarthy's number. So, moving on to my Super Bowl prediction, I have the
Totally unbiased.
Totally unbiased. I have the 49ers beating the Ravens just because I think it's hard to beat the same team twice, especially when it comes to the Ravens. I'm pretty sure the 49ers will have a better defensive game plan and a better offensive game plan because I remember they barely ran the ball with Christian McCaffrey that game. So maybe they'll actually use Christian McCaffrey more in the slot or even just run him off tackle like they usually do with Trent Williams. So this is going to be Brock Purdy's first Super Bowl win, Christian McCaffrey's first Super Bowl win. I think it's Trent Williams' first Super Bowl win. So it's going to be a lot of first Super Bowl wins for this team. I mean, if not, I'll eat my shoe. So I have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl. Matthew Moser.
Okay, so we're first starting off in the NFC. I have Buccaneers and Eagles. Something about Baker Mayfield. I just have the Buccaneers beating the Eagles in the first round. It's going to be an easy win for them, and they're just going to cakewalk them. And then on to the Lions versus Rams. Jared Goff's just not a good quarterback. I just don't see him being a good quarterback. And with Amon-Ra St. Brown and the rest of that team, David Montgomery, they're all pretty good. So I feel like they'll win that. And then Cowboys-Packers. This isn't really a game. The Cowboys are just really electric. And yeah. And then on the Texans versus Browns. Being an Ohio State fan, with C.J. Stroud coming to this, I really want him to win, but this is his first year, and I just can't see him winning it. He's just going to be full of nerves, and it's just going to get to him, I think. And, yeah, the Browns win it. And then on to the Chiefs versus Dolphins. Andy Reid and when he gets in playoff mode, it's a whole other Andy Reid. You can't really predict anything. It's just all guns for that. And then Bills Steelers. Something about the Steelers' defense. I just feel like they're going to get it done. With T.J. Watt being out, it's going to hurt them, but I feel like they can still win it with what they got. And then on the divisional round, the Buccaneers and 49ers. I have the 49ers winning it. The Buccaneers aren't just that good of a team. Brock Purdy is going to come out there and win it. There's nothing really else to say about it. It's just going to be how it is. And then Lions, Cowboys. I just love those Lions. They're just cooking right now. Yeah. And then for Browns and Chiefs, I think Joe Flacco is really killing it right now, and they're just going to go out there and win it. And then Steelers, Ravens. Honestly, there's not going to be a game there with starting players in. And then Browns, Ravens for the conference championship. Ravens are going to win it because it's how it's going to be. Yeah. And then on the other side, it's going to be Lions and 49ers. This is going to be the biggest upset ever. The Lions are going to beat the 49ers in the conference championship. Brock Purdy's going to sell. It's going to be the whole 9 yards. And then on to the finals. It's going to be Lions versus Ravens. The Ravens have not yet failed to close out a game with their starting lineup. And I just feel like that's going to be the Ravens up for it all.
All right. Well, an interesting bracket for that one. I would love to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. A Lions Ravens Super Bowl would make me happy. There's not a team in there that I hate. So, but we will move on. We're going to reflect on the college football championship and then talk about some news about the NFL. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the championship for college football?
It's really wasn't even a game. It was just a big blowout.
I think Georgia could have beat all those teams. Just putting it out there. Georgia could have beat every single team in that playoff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
It's possible, but I mean, what was the score? 34, 13,
Yeah, I
something
think
like that.
something like that.
13.
It just the Michigan run game took over.
It was
I mean,
crazy.
There was, I don't know who the running backs are, but
Blake Corum and
Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, Donovan Edwards.
they took over the game and they dominated. It was, I mean,
It wasn't even
was
J.J.
nice
McCarthy,
to
and
watch.
people were putting him at being a top quarterback and stuff. But in reality, it's what carried them this whole season. And the run game was what won them the Ohio State game and the Penn State game.
Yeah.
Was
Honestly,
Michigan's dominant run game.
It's their O-line.
Yeah, it's their O-line. It's like how Notre Dame used to be with their O-line. That's how Michigan's line is right now, is being able to get to the second level and take on those linebackers so that the running back has those cutback lanes and free space. And there's actually a clip that if you watch how the center and guards and tackles work together to create that second level, it was actually insane how coordinated that line is and how good they look. I mean, they had the scandal this season, but that guy was fired 4 weeks 4 weeks before the national championship or whatever, something like
And
that.
they beat Ohio State without him.
Yeah, they beat Ohio State
beat
without
Penn
him.
State.
So
Their head coach.
Yeah.
without their head coach.
So, do you guys think with now the Natty Championship, is he going to take head coaching job in the NFL?
So this is where it gets tricky. I've heard rumors that he might go to the Raiders, just because he was at the Raiders for a little tenure before he eventually moved.
49ers, I think.
Yeah, I think he either moved to the 49ers or back to college. I forget. But it's going to be a tricky situation. I see it going either way because I know Michigan offered him like a crazy deal with a no NFL clause or something.
Yeah, for 10 years, I think it was. You can't go to the NFL.
Yeah, you can't go to the NFL for 10 years or something, or even flirt with the idea of going. But we've been talking about this for the past 4 years now, since 2020 when they went 1-4 or something. So I can see it going either way.
I mean, head coaches, this offseason, they're going to be shaking up a ton, in my opinion. So we had Arthur Smith fired over the weekend. So Pete Carroll retired.
I
Or
wouldn't
not
say
retired.
retired.
Just, stepped down.
He stepped down as head coach. He's taking, I think, an executive kind of position.
Yeah.
He's staying with the Seahawks, but no longer as head coach. Who else was fired?
Bill Belichick parted ways with the Patriots this morning.
Yep. So Bill Belichick leaving, so that leaves Patriots open looking for a head coach. Brandon Staley for the Chargers was fired. Mike Vrabel from the Titans was fired. So a lot of things are being shaken up. So the Raiders you're talking about who might pick up Harbaugh, their interim coach Antonio Pierce.
Pierce, yeah.
He actually looked great. I think he coached the team great towards the end of the season. So a lot of people were thinking that he might be elevated and stay as the head coach. But there's still a lot of teams that are going to be in need of a head coach where he can go.
So I think it's the Raiders are still going to go through the interview process. They're still going to go talk to Harbaugh. They're going to talk to Pierce. They're going to talk to all the other people that they want. But then I ultimately think that they have the decision. They just want to interview the other people just to have some sort of what's it called? I want to say an escape.
Reinsurance.
An option.
Yeah, an option just in case Harbaugh decides to go somewhere else or decides to stay with Michigan. So I think that's what they're going to do. I think that's what's going to happen. And I want to talk about this too because this is also a huge thing. Nick Saban retiring. So there have been rumors that Mike Vrabel will go to the Alabama Crimson Tide. I mean, it's definitely crazy that he retired after 14 seasons in college football.
He had
7 natties.
He had more players drafted in the first round than he had losses.
Yeah.
That is absurd.
Yeah. So I mean, he definitely carried college football, that college football dynasty for his tenure at Alabama.
The two GOATs retired within a day of each other.
24 hours. Within 12 hours, I'd say.
What are you guys thinking that Bill Belichick's going to do? Do you think he's going to maybe with the Chargers? Was a big one over the season that people were talking about him going to the Chargers.
I think he's
Justin
done.
Herbert.
Yeah, I would say I think he's done.
I mean, what else? What else do you got? You won seven Super Bowls, one with the Giants, 6 with the Patriots. What else do you got? You got nothing else to prove.
Yeah.
One of the winningest coaches in NFL history.
Mhm.
You got nothing left to prove.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Montgomery Mixed Opinions today. We will check back with how our Super Bowl picks and our playoff brackets turn out as the playoffs get started. So thank you and have a great night.